Welcome to Sandia Medical Records demo of our web-based release of information solution designed to protect medical practices. And before we begin, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time. We certainly appreciate it. And just as a segue into the demo, we'd also like to add that our goal is to protect and to really be the gatekeepers of medical records that are released from our clients' organizations. And if you think about it conceptually, if there were a chink in the armor, so to speak, with many healthcare providers, a big part of that lies in the area of release of information. So medical records that actually leave the safety in the confines and the security of your office. So the goal is to protect them, to create a HIPAA-compliant data trail with regards to everything that's released. And then the quality that goes into checking the records before they're released is just paramount, and we've developed this tool to address those issues. With that, let's begin the demo. Before we actually walk through the software, let's reflect on a couple important points. Number one, why protecting your organization against releasing records improperly matters. If you think about it, every day medical organizations release medical records to patients, attorneys, insurance companies, the Department of Disability, just to name a few requester types. And chart audits nowadays are becoming more and more prevalent. So something we could kind of reflect on, it's a great question, is what is our organization doing to create a full accounting of disclosures log for all records released on our patients? What steps are we taking to prevent breaches within patient records that are released? If we really take patient privacy seriously, do we take the time to review records page by page before they're released? If we have a vendor in place supporting us with records release, do they take the time to review records thoroughly before released? In summary, breach prevention, the quality of the human component involved in releasing the records, the creation of a HIPAA-compliant data trail for all records that leave your office, and patient privacy accountability are very, very important points. With these important points in mind, let's take a look at the software. You'll notice here we're on the home page of our website. And in the upper right, you can click on Client Login, and this will take you to where you enter in your username and password. And from here, you'll notice our release of information platform. It's pretty easy on the eyes, and it was intended to be that way. We want it to be very user-friendly. So from here, let's process our first medical records request. We'll select on Requests, and then choose Open Request. And here we have essentially a form page where we're entering in our patient information and our requester information. So the requester in this case, let's say it's an attorney, and the patient's name is David Washington. And you'll notice right under the name fields we have three fields. The first one is called account number, followed by social security number and date of birth. And what needs to happen here is we need to choose one of these specific patient identifiers to create what's referred to as a full accounting of disclosures log. So we'll choose birth date. And right underneath that we have information requested. That defaults to all. So this would be an example of an attorney wanting the full body of the medical record. If by chance the attorney only wanted a section or a portion of the medical record, let's say January 1st, 2011 to the present, that would be entered in as a static field. From here we would go over to the right-hand side of our screen, and we'll notice that there is a field titled Status. And this status always defaults to record scanned when processing a request, so that doesn't need to be changed. Followed by requester date. So this would be the date that the attorney typed up the request letter. And right beneath that, we have date received. So that would be the date that the medical provider received the attorney request for medical records. And then we have a records process field. That will be automatically populated when the records have been quality checked, invoiced, and delivered to the requester. At the bottom of the patient box, you'll notice there's a comment section for any specifics that need to be entered about this request. And from there, we'll go to the actual requester field. So this will be who the attorney is that wants the records. You'll notice when I typed in the letter Z, a field popped up. So this is a law firm that has already been previously entered into the system. What's kind of nice about this is you'll notice over time, a lot of your requesters for medical records are recurring requesters. So you're actually creating a database of everybody who's asked for medical records. So you won't have to type this information in again. You only have to do it once, and then it will auto-populate. And from here, we'll attach the actual medical record. Let's find our test record and then upload it. From here, our processing of that first medical records request is now complete. So I think it's important to mention that when processing a request, the medical records are basically going from point A, which is your medical practice, to point B, which is our headquarters for production, where the records are quality checked and invoiced. So in order to get those records into a PDF, if a group has all paper charts, for example, the records would be scanned and saved to a PDF. If the group had an EHR platform in place, what would happen is they would go into the EHR system and then actually print the medical records to PDF and then attach them through the software. So let's now take a look at something that I think is pretty important. This would be what's referred to as a HIPAA-compliant full accounting of disclosures log. And let's take a look at everything that's been processed for this medical provider. All records that have been sent out. So this is just a demo platform just to show you an example of how this works, but if this were a client of ours, these line items would be far more extensive. They would have perhaps hundreds of medical records released. If they had been a client of ours for a long time, they could have thousands of records in here. What's nice about that is you're now looking at this HIPAA-compliant data trail of all medical records that have left the safety, security, and confines of your office. So that way, if you ever need to go back into any of these to find out who asked for the records, why they asked for the records, when they asked for the records, you can pull up all that pertinent information. And lastly, a very important thing to mention is that when we receive these records in-house for processing, we take the production of the record and the quality of the record before they're released very seriously. So when these records end up in production, our trained medical records specialists are opening up the attached PDF record which contains the medical chart. The release authorization is being viewed for all the specific compliant information that is important to make sure that pertinent information within the records are covered. Protected health information is covered. So if there's something in the record with regards to substance abuse, let's say, and there's nothing in the release authorization that speaks to that, that says, yes, if it has that info, it's okay to release it, we're going to catch it. Also, to check for breaches, let's say this is a record for John Smith and it's a 100-page medical record. Perhaps page 67 could be for somebody named Sally Smith. And so my point in mentioning these things is that we take the time to provide a page-by-page review of medical records before they're released. The request letter is read, release authorization is reviewed, and the body of the medical record is combed through to ensure accuracy. So our goal, creating a HIPAA-compliant data trail to protect our clients against breaches and to create a greater accountability with regards to patient privacy in releasing the records. With that, I'd just like to thank you again for your time. That concludes our demo. Feel free to visit us on our website at www.smrs.com. sandiamr.com. Thank you.